Selway third graders. Today we are going to learn about division when there is exchanging, and I know you guys can do it. Division, just to quickly review, is about taking a number and dividing it into groups and seeing how many is in each group. The other way we can look at it is if we have a big number, how many times does a smaller number fit into it equally? So those are both two different perspectives for looking at division. 534. That's called my dividend. My dividend is the number that I start with. Divided by 2. 534 divided by 2. 2 is my divisor. I could think of this as I'm dividing 534 into 2 equal groups. I'm also seeing how many groups of 2 fit into 534 equally. So 534 is my dividend divided by my divisor, 2. And my answer in division has a special name too. And my answer in division is called my quotient. So the answer in division is called a quotient. So I'm going to find the quotient. Just means the answer. And there's steps to division when you're doing, it's called long division. And it's where we record on our paper all of the exchanging. The steps in long division, we can remember using some letters that can help us kind of remember the steps. D, M, S, B. Now, not to be a little too silly, but one of the ways that we can help our brain remember things is to be a little silly. So we think of words that these letters start with. I have heard a number of different ways for people to remember this, and one of the ones that has stuck with me because it is very silly is, and I'm sorry, dead monkeys smell bad. Now I know that that's really, really silly, but because it is, that can help stick in our head. Dead monkeys smell bad. So the steps are D, M, S, B. And I will show you those steps now. Okay, so 534 divided by 2. So step number 1 is the D. Remember, dead monkeys smell bad? So the D, actually it stands for divide. D stands for divide. And if I take 5 divided by 2, that will tell me my first digit in my quotient. And I want to write it right above the 5. So 5 divided by 2. And I want to get as close as I can. And I'll bet that you know right away that it doesn't divide equally. So what is the closest that it can go in? So 2 goes into 5, 2, 4, and I could check on my board. 2 goes in 2 times. So 5 divided by 2, as close as I can get, is 2. 2 goes in to 5 2 times without going over. If I go over, I have to go back. So if 2 were to go in 3 times, that would be 3 2s, and that would be 6. That doesn't work. So now I want to do my next step, the M. Multiply. So I want to multiply. What do I multiply? 2 times 2. So the multiply step tells me how many I actually got to go in there, how many I actually, of my 500s, did I give out to my 2. All right, so 2 times 2. And I'm going to record all of my work here. Only my quotient goes up here. So the only one that goes up top is the divide step, and the remainder, if there is one. So 2 times 2 equals 4. That's the multiply step. The next step, S, subtract. Divide, multiply, subtract. I had 5. I was able to equally give out 4 of them. So there's my subtract. 5 take away 4 equals 1. The next step, bring down. And so this shows me that I'm going to have one exchange, and I'm just going to bring down the next digit right next to my exchange. And now instead of having 3 tens to give out, I've got 13 because I had one exchange after I gave out my hundreds. So now I start all over again. As long as I've got places above my digits, I've got to start all over again. So divide, and this is going to go right up here. And be careful that you don't try to use this number. Remember, we exchanged, so now we have 13. So how many times does 2 go into 13? Well, I can look and I can see, 14, that's too much. So 2 goes in 6 times. I can get 6 2s out of 13. Next step, multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. Next step, subtract. Turn this into a subtraction. And 13, take away 12. That's one exchange. Next step, bring down. And actually, I notice that I'm running out of space. My next step is bring down. I'm going to bring down my very next digit all the way down. So now we have 14. So how many 2's go into 14 equally? And if you're remembering about even numbers, you know that 2 is an even number and 14 is an even number, so 2 should go into 14 equally. I can check on my chart over here, or I can just count by 2's. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 2 goes in equally, and it went in 7 times. Multiply. 7 times 2. Subtract. And then the answer to the subtraction is 0. Now, the last step is bring down, and you'll notice there's nothing else to bring down. That tells me I'm done. Now, I have a 0 here. That means there's no remainders. Some division problems for your final subtraction will have something here. If they do, that's your remainder. That's how many is left over after you've done the division equally. And you just record it like this. R, standing for remainder, and write how many there is. In this case, there's 0, so R0. So if I had 534 divided into 2 groups equally, there would be 267 in each group, with none left over. Let's do another one quickly. Okay, so the number that we're going to divide this time, the dividend, is 1,387. Okay, and I'm going to divide it into 3 groups. So my divisor is 3, and I'm going to find the quotient. and I'm going to record all of my work underneath. Now it's really important to keep the place values lined up, whether you're writing your quotient or you're writing your work underneath. It's one of the reasons that your paper has little squares on it to help keep it lined up perfectly. All right, so the first one is divide. But look at this, 1 divided by 3. How many 3's can I get into 1? I can't get any. So for the very first one, instead of writing a 0 there, because we don't have a 0 outside of our number, we can look at 13. So 3 goes into 13. How many times? How many 3's can we fit into 13 equally? Well, I'm going to look at my 3 column. 1 3, 2 3's. Oh, there's 12. That's 4 3's. Oh, that's over, so I'm going to go back. Okay, so I was able to fit 4 3's in 13. Now watch where I put it, because I didn't fit them into 1. I fit them into 13. And now I'm going to write all my work really carefully lined up. So my next step is multiply. 4 times 3, it's not 13, it's 12. Next step, subtract. 13, take away 12. If you use the count up method, it can be pretty quick. 12, 13, that's 1. Next step, bring down. I'm going to go to my very next place value, and I'm going to just bring it right on down. So there's my exchange, there's my next one. So I had 1 exchange and I had 8, so that makes 18. So now I'm going to start all the way back at the beginning for my next quotient. Divide. Not 8, 18 divided by 3. How many 3's fit into 18? Oh, 6. 6 3's fit into 18. 6 times 3, next step. 18, subtract. Bring down. And I need to find my next quotient. So I start back at the beginning, divide. So I've got 7 divided by 3. How many 3's are there in 7? Oh, I can get up to 2 3's, sorry. I can get up to 2 3's. And 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract. Bring down. Oh, there's nothing else to bring down. That means that I have finished my work and I have 1 left over, so that's my remainder. I'm going to add it up here to my quotient. Remainder 1. 1,387 divided by 3 equals 462 in each group, remainder 1. 1 left over that couldn't be divided in equally. So the steps: divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. One way you might help remember what order they go in: dead monkeys smell bad. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Now you don't have to use the words if you don't need to. One of the things that does help though is at the top of your division paper is writing DMSB, and you can write the symbols on there. In fact, I think that for your first division paper that I'm going to be sending you that has exchanging, this is how you record your exchanging, I will write at the top DMSB for you so that you can be reminded about that. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down.